Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something pretty complex,
Yeah, it's a real head scratcher,
but super important if you're prepping for those UPSC exams.
especially the mains. This
I
kind
mean,
of stuff,
it's prime territory for those essay questions.
exactly.
We're talking about India's balancing act with IT hardware
Laptops, PCs, the whole,
and the whole nine yards.
Yep.
We've got a stack of news articles and some
some really interesting data
to
points
help us understand how India is trying to reduce its reliance on,
on imports.
especially from certain, well, shall we say, strategic competitors.
Right.
So let's dive in.
Sounds good.
You know, it's kind of crazy when you think about it.
What's that?
Like you're sitting there studying for the UPSC, surrounded by all this tech,
Oh, yeah.
your phone, your laptop, probably even your
Your headphones.
but chances are a good chunk of that stuff wasn't actually made in India.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, in FY24,
Uh-huh.
electronic components were India's fifth largest import.
No kidding. Yeah, racking up a bill of like $34.4 billion.
Wow, that's a lot of laptops.
It is. And to add another layer to this, over 50% of those electronic imports,
And where are they coming from?
China.
So it's like a double whammy.
Exactly. Dependence on imports.
And dependence on, well, a bit of a rival, you could say.
Yeah, that's why the government's really pushing for self-reliance in this sector.
Yeah, makes sense. But how do they plan to do that? I mean, it's not like they can just flip a switch and suddenly...
And suddenly start producing everything domestically.
Right. It's got to be more complicated than that.
Oh, it definitely is. But there are a few interesting strategies at play here.
Like what?
Well, for one, they're taking a page from the tire industry playbook.
Oh, okay.
So back in 2020, India restricted certain tire imports.
Uh-huh.
And what happened?
What?
Big players like Bridgestone, Michelin, Goodyear, they all
What?
they all invested heavily in India, set up production facilities.
So they're trying to replicate that success with laptops and PCs?
Basically saying, hey, if you want to sell your tech here, you got to help us make it here too.
Pretty much.
I bet that's causing some international friction.
Oh, it definitely has.
Yeah.
The U.S., China, Japan, they've all raised concerns.
Makes sense. No one likes to see their market share threatened.
That's part of it. But they also argue that these restrictions could disrupt global supply chains, you know.
Right. And probably drive up prices for consumers too.
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of
what?
Of the WTO.
Ah, the World Trade Organization. Always got to factor those guys in.
Yep. Under the WTO's Information Technology Agreement, India is committed to zero-duty imports for a lot of IT products.
So they can't just slap on tariffs to protect their domestic manufacturers.
Nope. They got to get creative.
Interesting. So how are they doing that?
Well, they're trying to link import permissions for laptops and PCs to
what?
to commitments for domestic production.
So if a company wants to import, they got to show how they're contributing to manufacturing in India.
Exactly.
Clever. But what about companies already operating in India? Are there any incentives for them to ramp up production?
Oh, absolutely. There's a program called the Production Linked Incentive Scheme.
PLI.
Yep, PLI. And it's attracting some big names.
Who are we talking about?
Dell, HP, Lenovo, Foxconn, they've all signed on.
So restrictions to encourage local production and incentives to sweeten the deal. Sounds like a
pretty calculated approach.
But I imagine there's still some hiccups along the way.
Oh, definitely. For one, domestic production, it's still lagging behind those ambitious goals.
Yeah, I bet it takes time to build up those complex manufacturing ecosystems.
It does, and getting those supply chains running smoothly, that's no small feat.
Especially with all the global uncertainty these days.
Right. That's actually why India had to extend those import restrictions until the end of 2025.
To avoid shortages or price spikes.
Exactly. Got to keep things stable while domestic production catches up.
A real balancing act, isn't it?
It is, trying to navigate global trade, strategic interests, and domestic capabilities.
And for those UPSC folks out there, this is the kind of
complex policy dilemma
that you might see pop up on those mains exams.
Absolutely. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Okay.
This whole IT hardware situation, it's kind of like a
wake-up call.
Yeah. For a lot of countries, they're realizing that depending on just one source...
For crucial stuff.
It's
technology.
Exactly. Can be, well...
risky.
A bit risky, yeah, like putting all your eggs in one basket. And speaking of baskets,
Okay.
India's got bigger ambitions than just,
And just laptops and PCs.
right. They want to be a major player on the world stage.
Manufacturing powerhouse, huh?
Absolutely. Think about Make in India. It's been
It's been gaining traction.
for a while now. And IT hardware,
It's becoming a key part of that.
exactly attracting investment, creating jobs, boosting exports
All those good things.
that help a country flex its muscles a bit, economically speaking.
So not just self-sufficiency, but,
Global dominance.
well, maybe not dominance, but being a real contender.
Yeah.
But can they compete with, the big guys?
Like China.
Yeah. China's got a massive head start.
True, but India's making moves. They're attracting those big multinational companies,
Right, right.
but they're also focusing on
On what?
nurturing their own talent.
Homegrown tech champions, huh?
Exactly. It's one thing to assemble products designed elsewhere,
Right.
but having your own companies, innovating, designing,
That's next level.
that's how you build a sustainable tech ecosystem.
And compete at the highest level.
And it aligns perfectly with that whole,
Medibar Farat.
yes, self-reliant India. It's a big deal these days.
It is. Okay, so we've got the why.
The motivation,
But what about the how? What are they actually doing? We touched on the PLI scheme and the,
the import restrictions.
right. But is there more?
Oh, there's definitely more. The PLI scheme, it's a powerful tool.
How so?
Well, those financial incentives, they're attracting billions of dollars
Wow.
into new manufacturing facilities all across India,
Okay, that's impressive. But it sounds like they want to go beyond,
beyond just basic assembly.
yeah, like they're not content with just making laptops, right?
Yeah, you got it. They want to move up the value chain, encourage companies
What?
to set up R&D centers, design hubs, even component manufacturing right here in India.
So deeper engagement with the tech.
Exactly. Not just putting the pieces together, becoming a real force
Yeah.
in the global tech scene.
That takes talent.
It does.
Yeah.
And expertise across the board.
Long game, huh?
Absolutely. Setting the stage for India to be a,
Titan.
for years to come. But all of this, it takes more than just
More than just cash.
money and incentives.
Yeah.
They need to create the right environment.
For growth. For innovation.
Right. Simplify regulations, improve infrastructure, address those skill gaps.
It's like creating the perfect,
Ecosystem.
yeah, the right mix of everything.
If
Because incentives don't mean much if,
it's a nightmare to actually do business there.
exactly.
It's got to be a comprehensive strategy. Investment, talent, infrastructure, innovation,
It all has to work together.
like a well-oiled machine.
Okay, so multi-pronged approach. Policy, incentives, infrastructure, even education.
It's a huge undertaking.
But if they pull it off,
The potential is massive. India could become a
dominant force.
in the global tech world.
And that's not just good for India, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
More competition, more innovation.
Benefits everyone.
Exactly. But let's bring it back to
To our UPSC folks.
right. Key takeaways here. This whole situation, it's a perfect example of
Of how economics and geopolitics are intertwined.
absolutely. India's not just trying to make more gadgets. It's about
Asserting itself.
on the global stage, securing its interests.
And it's a case study in how countries have to juggle those domestic priorities.
With international trade agreements.
The WTO, all that.
Exactly. India's decisions here, they're going to have ripple effects, not just on their economy, but on...
On their relationships with other countries.
exactly. So for anyone prepping for those UPSC exams,
This is important stuff.
it goes way beyond laptops and PCs. It's about India's place in the world, their vision for the future, and the challenges and opportunities that come with
striving for self-reliance.
in a globalized world.
Right. So as you're studying, analyzing all this,
Remember, everything's connected.
the economic, the political, the technological,
It's all part of the same
same puzzle.
exactly. Now, before we wrap things up, we have a
A small favor to ask.
yeah.
If you're finding this deep dive helpful, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
And leave a comment. Let us know what you think about India's approach, all that.
We love hearing from you guys.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about the why, the how.
The motivation, the strategies.
All right. But let's zoom out a bit. Big picture time.
Yeah.
How might all this play out globally?
Well, one thing we could see is an acceleration of that trend we talked about earlier.
Supply chain diversification.
Exactly. As India ramps up its manufacturing, it becomes a more
A more attractive alternative.
to China. for a lot of companies.
So like a power shift.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
India emerging as a new manufacturing hub.
With some serious geopolitical implications.
Oh, absolutely. Alliances could shift, partnerships could change.
Whoever controls the tech controls the game, right?
In a way, yeah. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. India's still got to overcome some
hurdles.
some big hurdles. One of the biggest, building a skilled workforce.
Right. Making those high-tech electronics. It takes
It takes a lot of know-how.
India's going to need to invest heavily in education and training.
Big time.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to build factories, but you got to have the
people to run them.
Right. And then there's infrastructure, power supply, transportation, logistics.
All those things have to be top-notch.
If you want to have a thriving manufacturing sector, India's going to have to keep investing in that.
So it's not just about policies and incentives. It's about
building that whole ecosystem
that supports growth and innovation.
Right. And let's not forget competition. China's not just going to sit back and watch this happen.
Yeah, David and Goliath, huh?
Kind of, yeah. But India's got a history of proving people wrong.
Overcoming obstacles.
They've become a major economic force, so who knows?
The future's wide open.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into
India's quest for self-reliance
in IT hardware. Hopefully you've got a better understanding of the
motivations, the strategies, the challenges.
All the moving parts.
And for those UPSC aspirants out there, remember, this topic, it's a
microcosm.
Yeah, a microcosm of all these big trends shaping the world. Globalization, tech advancements, geopolitics. It's all connected.
Keep those connections in mind as you delve deeper.
This is just the beginning, folks. There's always more to learn.
More perspectives to consider. More connections to make.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to
subscribe to the channel.
Leave a comment below. We'd love to keep the conversation going.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep those minds sharp, keep exploring, and we'll catch you on the next episode of The Deep Dive.